out, motherfucker. Surprise, motherfucker.
Good afternoon, good evening, good night, and welcome to Throwbacks, where we talk all things cool and retro. I'm your host, Brad, and this is my co host, the Tom to my Jerry, Uncle BJ.
What up, Brad? Big Brad, the Brad in the house, the scout to my trooper, the pooper to my scooper. What it do, baby?
Oh, we are hanging in. We are trying to get all high speed here and figure out this whole technology thing as a bunch of old cats trying to just make their way along the world and the world of podcasting or YouTubing and all that fun stuff.
Very, very fun. Very fun. We can do it. I believe in us. I believe in
We will
you.
figure it out, or we will drastically burn and crash and all that fun stuff. But let's get right to the point of this video, and we're going to go over the top 5 cool and retro places from our past. Should have a good little bit of variety here, as I'm a 90s kid and Uncle BJ is an 80s kid. You wouldn't know it by looking at him. He's such a young looking man.
Lies.
So we should have a good variety of places, and so we're gonna dip right into it. And then after that, we're gonna do a little unboxing that maybe isn't worthy of their own videos on the YouTube channel. And if anybody shows up, throw up your 2 cents, and we'll chat it out. Otherwise, this will be uploaded on the old YouTube channel for everybody to enjoy for centuries and millenniums and generations to come.
It'll
But
be life.
let's get into it with a little bit of this thing we call the share screen. So first up is going to be Uncle BJ, and his is the Pick and Save Bargain Outlet.
Yeah, man. Pick and save. I don't know if anybody remembers these stores. It might just be something in, like the South, but back when I was a kid, Star Wars toys and GI Joe toys and stuff like that were kind of everywhere. They're not like online and maybe two or three places, around town that you get today. But pick and save. After school, I'd walk by there and there would just be like not aisles. I mean, it was a small place, but I mean, they had stuff there like the Death Star playset and Hoth, the miniature playset, and it was amazing the stuff you could just find there. And it was convenient and cheap, and go get yourself a couple Star Wars figures and some toothpaste and a do rag and a can of Coke, and then hop on home with your boombox.
Gotta have the boombox. Yep, can't say I ever have been to a Pick and Save, at least not that rings into my head, but sounds like a pretty rad place to be.
It's cool. It's cool. What you got?
All right, and we'll jump to my number 5, and that is the cheat. It is the old school retro Chuck E. Cheeses, or as some would know it as Showtime Pizza. Is Showtime? It was Showtime Pizza, right?
Showbiz
Showtime
pizza.
something.
And those are
Showbiz.
different,
There we
but
go. Showbiz.
very similar.
Yeah.
Though. They had a bear, and it was cool.
All
I missed
good
that
stuff.
place.
So, oh yeah. I mean,
Beautiful.
you the good old Chuck, the animatronics, just a way different a vibe than it is now. Pretty much everything. I think most of them have maybe one Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. The rest are just like screens and like a little dance floor and stuff. So it's
It's
I
boring.
can't say that it's yeah, it doesn't hold the nostalgia. When you walk in, you're not like, oh, man, I remember this. It's just like it's just a completely different place. It's just a kiddie version of like a Dave and Buster's. So um, Chuck E. Cheese still does exist, but for me, it does not quite hold up to the originals. So for my number 5, it's gonna be Chuck E. Cheese.
Their wings are fire, though. To give them credit, their wings are very good.
Weirdly so. Weirdly so.
but I'm not wrong.
No, because trivia fact, my first job out of the army was working at Chuck E. Cheese. So I did put on the suit, like, 1 or 2 times, and so I've got that on my resume, so I can share that with the world. So that's it for number 5, and moving on to Uncle BJ's number 4.
Okay, number 4, and this might be another obscure place for some folks out there, but Zare, was such a cool place to go to, for finding action figures back in the day. Uh, I remember back when, Return of the Jedi came out, I would go in there, and there would just be aisles and aisles of, like, or rather boxes of, like, Rancors and Jabba the Hutts and skiffs and, you know, all the cool stuff, and you're like, "Oh my god." And I guess for some context, Zare was bigger than Pick and Save, but not quite a Walmart. It was kind of like a cross between a Kmart and a Target. Anyway, it was a cool little store, and I like it. And I also got a lot of like CDs and stuff from there too. They had a pretty big music department, which is cool. Zare,
Oh, CDs, not even cassettes, just dang.
yeah, yeah, all kinds of cool stuff.
They must have hung around a little longer than one would think. That's good.
I think it lasted till
Zare, another one. I can't s
90s.
oh, sweet. Alright, so coming in at number 4 for Uncle BJ is Zare, is that correct?
Yeah,
Or Zares?
we
Alright,
called it
and
Zares,
for
but
my number 4, yeah. So number 4 for me is DZ: The Discovery Zone. Um, I only probably got to actually go and experience a full, like, full blown in the ball pit, down the little you see here in the picture on the top right, this little that was, like, the thing, is the little rolling slide thing that you go down. Probably, like, twice in my entire life. So and it was the one I went to was here in, Jacksonville, in Orange Park, and
they had one in Abilene, didn't they?
so I don't know, probably, but it was just never one of those, you know, ultra, like, maybe you could consider ourselves middle class, single parent kinda thing, so it was just one of those things that, you don't if you're lucky for a birthday, or you get invited to somebody's birthday, and if you're lucky that your mom is off work to go to the said birthday, those type of things. But what really sticks is, like, the commercials, and it's just, like, you get that mystique, and it was maybe even only going 1 or 2 places really kinda upped it, the mystique level. You just see it for years and years on Nickelodeon. So it really kinda upped the, "Wow, what is this place? Man, this place is insane," It was what, kinda Chuck E. Cheese is on steroids, just a massive play area. So, very,
Less
very cool place, very high on my list, obviously here at number 4, was probably came in after you were I'm sure you're in your teenage years and was definitely out before, out of business before I could even reach my teenage years. So it it was hot while it lasted and that went out, just as quickly.
Yeah, I had no knowledge of this place.
All right.
Okay, knew of it when I was older.
Yep.
Alright.
DZ and Discovery Zone. Hey. Moving on to number 3 for Uncle BJ, and we've got a classic. This photo coming to you live from, Orange Park, Florida. This was also my Toys R Us, so tell us about your love for Toys R Us.
Toys R Us was pretty awesome, and, and I gotta tell you, we didn't really have Toys R Us when I was a kid. I mean, it existed, but it wasn't somewhere I really remember going to. It was more so when I got back into collecting toys that
Mhm.
I would go to Toys R Us, and I really loved going there, and especially the one that we're talking about. And this is the actual one that me and Brad would go to. Like every like Friday after work, I'd probably go there and just spend an hour walk around looking at stuff. and it was just an awesome place that
Oh,
most of you guys probably remember. But this is in the future. I'm sorry you never got to experience it. It was pretty cool.
oh yeah, it was. I've got pictures walking out with my oldest daughter on the day before the final day of Toys R Us. I didn't really want to be there in the last day, and it was already so wiped out. But got a good. At least one of my kids got a little bit, and Catherine, my second oldest, she has a little bit of memory. Half's not bad for their memory of Toys R Us. But I'll touch a little bit of more of that because spoiler, Toys R Us may be coming down the pipe in my countdown here in just a few minutes. But
Would have never guessed.
so we are on number 3, correct? Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah,
So number 3 for myself
you.
is we're running away. Where'd it go? Oh no. All right, there we go. At least it didn't spoil too much there.
Oh
Let me
no,
find it
so
now.
much behind the scenes.
Is Nickelodeon Studios in Orlando, Florida. Um, Another kind of one that I'll say I never technically went to Nickelodeon Studios. Um, I walked past it multiple times, and it was always one of those like, oh yeah, the parents or the aunts or whoever took us to Universal was always like, no, we'll go next time, or no, they just didn't want to go in there and experience. So it was always just like walking past it, seeing it. But again, the commercials, the advertising for Nickelodeon Studios was just so like mesmerizing as a kid. Like, oh man, being there and getting the gag put on you or the slime, and it was like, whoa. So I've actually this building still stands um, at Universal Studios here in Orlando, and sometimes for Halloween Horror Nights or other big events, um, the gate that leads to this area will be open, and you can actually use the bathrooms
How
over there,
kind of
kind of
them.
where you see that yellow staircase. Yeah, where that yellow staircase isn't there anymore, but underneath it leads to the bathrooms there. So you can go in there, and on the floor, the tile is like a very small tiles, and they do kind of form a big like slime pattern on the floor. So that's like the only thing that is visible to the public that still holds. So if I ever get whenever I get the chance, I always go in there and use the bathroom just to say that just
Leave
to have that
some slime.
cool like, well, I guess I was yeah, add my own color to the proceedings. So one that I've never technically been to, but man, I would do anything to jump in that DeLorean and do a lap around the inside of Nickelodeon Studios.
Is that where they make the slime? That green thing out front?
Yeah, this was a big geyser, so it would shoot off the slime every whatever, and it wasn't. I think it was just water, colored or
Oh,
whatever.
wow.
But inside they would do the slime on the kids and stuff. They would do tours, and one kid got to get slimed and all that. So again, it's probably better that I didn't get chosen to go because if I
How many
didn't get
parents
to actually,
get slime?
and there is I'm not sure where it is on here, but in that area there's a Nickelodeon time capsule that is set to open in like 2042 or 2045.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so I got to make it that long, I guess, just so I can see the time capsule being opened. But yeah, that's my number 3, and on to Uncle BJ's number 2, and it is a classic.
Didn't get any cooler than KB Toys back in the day, folks. I would make
Dude,
special trips everywhere to every mall I could just to go to KB. And also, if the mall sucked, I'd be like, well, at least there's KB. You go there. Um,
yep.
when I lived in Montana, the folks that worked at KB, they would always, like they would get the new Star Wars figures and they would put them aside for me. And they'd be like, "Oh yeah, hey BJ, we got the new the new Power of the Force figures. They're over here if you want to look through them. I'd be like, yeah, cool. And, it was such a cool store. Um, all through the years, and even when I wasn't collecting toys, I would go in here and just look at everything because I would just be amazed at all the stuff they had, and it was just jam packed. It wasn't like a huge store, but the way they packed stuff in every aisle and every shelf was pretty amazing.
Mhm.
And and they had video games, and I just have so many good memories of back in the day. Get like stuff from like Battlestar Galactica till all the way till they ended. Getting Power of the Force stuff. So yeah, they were around for a long time. KB Toys, good, cool place.
And one that definitely slipped my mind. You see what's here in the front little area there on the picture on that front little display. Not the Jurassic Park, but behind that. Can you see that at all or no?
I can't see that. What is it?
Yeah, it's Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I wouldn't.
A
I should.
whole yeah, a whole big display of Lord of the Rings.
Now I see it.
Yeah,
I recognize.
definitely one that if I had thought about it, this would have been probably top 3. Because like you said, I think I probably spent more time as a kid inside of a KB. Because again, back to the point of low income, whatever, or summers with my grandma. It was kind of like, oh well, let's go to the mall. Where am I going to take my grandson? I'll take him to the mall, and then we'll take him to the walk around stuff like that. So back then, for the kiddos nowadays, I mean, the mall was the place. That was, an attraction. You didn't just go to the mall to, go to one store. You went to walk around, and you spend a day at the mall. Especially if you're hanging out with your friends, you spent the whole day at the mall running around. So, um, getting to go to KB was kind of something that,
That was a
uh,
treat. Yeah.
it,
Honorable
and
mention: any mall, because they're
yeah,
almost all gone.
and for me, it seemed like the one here in town and then the one also in Abilene, always had, like, a pet store either, like, directly next door or within, like, a tight little area. The pet store was always right by KB Toys, which was
Yeah,
it may have just been me, but that was,
I remember.
at least my experience with it.
Do you
Very,
remember
very
outside of the little wind up toys they would put
Yep,
outside, like right there? Like
in a
almost
little
as you walk
white
into,
basket.
like, yeah, you
Yep.
almost tripped over just to like get people to notice the store and like walk in. They'd be like, "Oh, what is that creepy wind up thing going all around?"
Yeah, I remember they did, like, the ferret balls where it was, like, a little ball with a ferret attached to it. It would roll around, and
Oh
then they had
yeah,
those one yellow balls that had the little knobs all around it that were multicolored, and they would, like, shake and bounce and that was I do remember that, man. That was
and
always
then
yep, it was always
right there,
a little
and
little white metal basket set out in the front.
then later years when they did that very first, not the very first, it was like a remote controlled R2D2 or some kind of like pre AI R2D2 that was he wasn't very big, but
Yeah,
he would like roll around out there. That's cool. You
very
saw
cool.
that
Very
from afar, and you knew KB was coming up.
Yep, you were almost there, and you had to, if you behaved, it was always like, "If you behave, we'll go to KB, and you can pick out one thing or something." So, you
Right.
spent the 2 hours in Victoria's Secret or, Bed Bath& Beyond or whatever just to be able to go into KB and find that, figure or 2 that you were looking for. So, a definite worthy top 3, top 2, could be a top 1 in many people's list of KB toys. Now moving on to my number 2, and it is the classic Blockbuster Video.
Oh yeah.
Um, man, and the great Polly Shore there, taking a quick visit around the Wheeze himself, checking out the good old Blockbuster. But man, the summers spent at my grandmother's house. You on a Monday you'd run down to the Blockbuster and pick out 3 or 4 movies that because they had like the different variations. The new releases you had to return the next day, but the older ones you could keep for 3 to 5 days or whatever the case is, and just loading up and as grandmothers do, she'd get one movie for herself and like five for me. So, but man, what a bummer when Blockbuster went out. Uh, Especially someone like myself who's such a proponent to buying physical media to make sure that you know you're able to own what you want to see, because eventually everything's just going to be streaming. They're going to quit putting it out, and if a company doesn't see money in the fandom product that you like, then it's just not going to be on there. They're not going to spend the money to put it on the streaming, and it'll be gone, and you'll have no way of seeing it. So I definitely, man, Blockbuster, what a great place, and a reminder that if I could just wipe away the internet right now and go back to these times, it would be done in a heartbeat. So for myself, number two, Blockbuster Video. How about you? Got any good memories of Blockbuster?
Dude, you know how many date nights started out with a quick picking up the pizza and then stopping by Blockbuster, or not necessarily in that order, I guess, but you go there, pick out a couple movies, get a good couple horror movies or something, and man, yeah, and kind of off the wall thing here. You talked about bringing movies back. Like, am I to remember correctly that some movies had like different late fees? Like, you could get one movie and it had to be back in, like, if it had just come out, you had to bring it back in like 3 days. But if it was like an old crappy horror movie, like I would like, you had like a week or whatever, and they charge you $1 if it was late. Was it
Yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. I
late
was saying
fee?
that earlier. Yep. Yeah, I was saying that earlier in the video that if it was a new release, you had, the next day or whatever. Um,
Mm,
I think it's
okay.
sometimes if it was like if you rented it on a Saturday, you got till Monday, something like that. But if you did it on a Friday, like Saturday or
Ever
Sunday, one of those days, you could get a new release for 2 days. But everything else that wasn't a new release, you got like 3 to 5 days to return it.
I tell you what, they probably made so much money off people like me that could not keep that crap straight. You'd be like,
Hmm.
"Oh no, I got movies to bring back. Oh, damn, how long have I had this one? I can't remember. Oh well, let's bring it back. See what happens."
Uh-oh. You're like, hopefully that didn't mess that up. But and another like kind of underrated aspect of Blockbuster was the movies that you would see that you had never heard of, and like, oh, what is this? And it's just like you got some crazy cool box art, especially with like you said, horror movies where you're like, I never heard of this. It's obviously pre-internet, and a lot of these things never even hit theaters, or if they did, they were in and out so quick. Like finding all sorts of these cult. That's where you kind of really where cult classics came from, is finding stuff
Right.
at Blockbuster and being like, "What is this?" And then you get the word of mouth of like, "Oh man, there's this like crazy barbed wire movie thing," and it just it would and
Yeah.
then all of a sudden that movie would never be available because the word of mouth got out about it. So that's kind of another like thing is those movies that never would have been known had it not been for a place like Blockbuster.
Go see a poster, or maybe a little ad, some kind of little small ad up by the register, and you'd be like, "Oh, that looks cool. I'm gonna check that out next
Species. All right, so that was my number two. Now for Uncle BJ's number one. Long gone cool and retro place.
Number one,
Number one
num-
is
not Polly
not
Shore.
Polly, but
Number one, I don't know if you can see that thumbnail. It's pretty small, but um, a lot of you probably won't remember this place, but it was called Lionel Play World, and I think before then it was called or maybe other parts of the country was like Kitty World, Kitty City, something like that. But over when I was a kid, it was Lionel Play World, and this was kind of my Toys R Us. This is where we'd always went to because it was like closer to where I lived and stuff. And this place was massive. Like, remember just think of the biggest Toys R Us you can, how you walk in, and there's like one good solid toy part, and then there was lots of baby crap and stuff that you didn't care about. Well, Lionel Play World, nope, it was like all like toys. It was stuff you wanted. You could start on one side of the store and just make your way to the other side because you would just walk down. Oh, here's like 5 aisles of GI Joe. Here's 5 aisles of Transformers. In Star Wars. It was amazing. Like you could find everything in this place, um, and it was just so cool. And they had other stuff there. It was a massive store. They sell like bicycles and pool toys and whatever you needed for when you were a kid. But I definitely have many, many, many memories of going somewhere. Maybe the family we'd just seen a movie or whatever. Then we would stop by Lionel Play World, and I would get a Black Star figure or a Masters of the Universe figure or something. And it was just an awesome place. I wish that everybody could have experienced this place because it was really cool. I don't know. I don't see too much hype about it. Looking back online, people talking about stuff, but for me, it was super cool. I
Yeah,
even got a
anyone would
sign.
be interested.
I even got like a little metal sign hanging on my door of my toy room in memoriam of it.
Yeah, that's one I'd be interested to look online and like find the YouTube videos of people's recordings and stuff of it inside. Like they find the old Toys R Us videos just to kind of get an idea of what it really was like inside, or even for
Yeah.
yourself, just to kind of relive that. All right, Lionel Playworld, definitely a place I'm gonna have to look that up on YouTube.
You can see
But
some commercials
to
for it.
oh really? Oh cool.
Okay.
All
What you
right.
got?
Lionel Playworld coming in at number one for Uncle BJ, and for myself, we're gonna hit the big boy. We're gonna hit the number one most cool and retro place that is long gone for myself, and it is none other than the late great Jeffries. Come on, who doesn't love good old Jeffries? Okay, it's not really Jeffries. Okay, Jeffries was an interesting thing that we could touch on, but it is of course Toys R Us. Man,
Woo.
again, you know, don't have a gazillion, definitely not as many as KB. That was a good point. Um, but some of the most ingrained memories are Toys R Us. Probably just the scale and of the place, and just the massive, just walking in and the colors and everything, just overwhelming your senses. The commercials, you'd get the Nickelodeon, where you would get 5 minutes to get a cart and run through a Toys R Us and collect anything you can for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, something like that. Card after card, just those kind of visuals and just being blown away at the idea of it. Um, I remember a very vivid one of a local one of getting the Star Trek Enterprise Micro Machine type set that Uncle BJ got me last Christmas, and getting that from my grandmother. I remember where I was in the store. I remember the bottom aisle. Just a very one. It's weird the ones that stick to you. You're like, why does that one of all things stick to me? But that is definitely one that stuck with me all these years later. So at number one is gonna be Toys R Us. Now let's do a caveat of just a fun little thing. Were you able to ever visit a Jeffrey?
Well, yeah, because I think the one in Abilene, they turned it into a Jeffrey's. It was
They did.
Toys R Us,
Yep.
and then it became Jeffrey's, and I was like, huh. I mean, I was kind of confused. I was like, to me, all they did was really just kind of shrink it down. All the stuff I like, they kind of just condensed it. That's what I was talking about before. Like you go into a place and there's like maybe one solid toy department, where they had some action figures, and then there was the game department next to it, and then basically the
Mhm.
rest of the store was all nonsense. Go find some baby socks and some wet wipes and like pool noodles, and I'm like, yeah, I don't care about any of that. But
Yeah, I think it definitely was Abilene. Um, and they turned it into Jeffrey's because I looked up, actually found the old building online. Um, but what they did was they tried to make it
so they're
kind
by
of
Chi
like
Chi's, that Mexican restaurant.
and by the movie theater, Century, and Academy Sports, and some other things. Right across the street from the mall over in Abilene. So if you're ever out visiting Abilene, Texas, and you want to see the remnants of an old Jeffrey's, there you go. But yeah, so they had a haircutting place inside where you could sit down and play the Nintendo GameCube while getting your haircut. Um, and then I think they had like the arts and crafts section and some other
Mm.
things to try to like vary their coolness. But I definitely vividly remember the haircutting place because I was like way too old. I was probably 12 or 13 at the time and was like, I want to play a video game while getting my hair cut. My mom was like, okay, weirdo. And they're like, you go in there and you're basically sitting in a fire truck or whatever, getting getting your hair cut. But I was like, that was just such a cool idea, get your hair cut while playing a video game. So I don't know if it ever got reverted back to just a regular old Toys R Us. I kind of don't. They probably just left it. I'm sure because it was a Toys R Us was a Jeffrey's. A Jeffrey's is whatever.
I don't know. I moved away after that, so I don't know what I would do.
Yeah. I mean, and then I hit the good old puberty and girls and that stuff was far more important than keeping up to date on Jeffrey and Toys R Us dynamics there. So
Yeah.
but yeah, for me, number one, Toys R Us. Yeah, just a special place that'll never be recreated, no matter how much they talk and go over the idea of bringing it back. It'll never happen.
Mm.
In any meaningful way, at least. But yeah, so that's our 1 through 5 top 5 long gone cool and retro places. So do us a favor, let us know if you're watching this after the fact, which most likely you are. What are your top 5 places? Did we hit any places that you had forgotten about? And all that good stuff. But before we go, we like to do a little figure unboxing.
Let's do it.
I think BJ has the cooler item, so I'm gonna let him go last so we can end it on a bang. But I got from AEW Cash Wheeler and Dax Harwood. So I'm gonna crack into them real quick. Actually,
Crack.
I'm just gonna crack into one because they're basically the same figure.
Explain why they're the same figure.
I mean, they're just wearing the same kind of stuff, so their gear is basically the same. So it's just a different head. Finally was able to get these mainly because I was at the event where they wore this. Now they also wore it apparently at a show in Connecticut, but this is definitely the gear they wore at I think it was called Blood and Guts, big cage match thing here in town at Daly's place. So I kind of wanted to have everybody's gear from that match since I was able to go to it. And there we go, out of the package from FTR. Let's pop his little head out. On my toy hunt today, I actually saw, believe it or not, a few new AEW figures,
No,
which I have not seen
I don't believe it.
new AEW figures in forever. So, yeah, this looks like an AEW figure. Few little tattoos on the side,
That's cool.
and I think he's got some under his arm there, some kind of
Shield of
shiny symbol there. Yeah, nice little figure. Kind of plain Jane, not the most toyetic figure, but well done. All the joints are nice and tight, all that good stuff. But I am very, very much so a dabbler in the AEW line. But in order to, I guess, kind of complete my mission of having all those figures from that match, I think I still have 2 more to go. But made it happen. At least two away from the goal or the pinnacle, as the tights here say. So on to Uncle BJ's really cool figure.
All right. So, let's see this is Skelegod from the Masters of the Universe Revelation uh, from Netflix, and it was from the Masterverse line, I should say. And this is the spoiler alert. Skeletor basically wins at some point and becomes Skelegod. And it's kind of weird, but really cool figure. So let's get him out of here real quick.
Maybe, baby. In a in a in a week from today, me and Uncle BJ will be setting up at a toy show to sell some stuff. So that's something to look forward to. We will definitely be doing a video on that. Hopefully we make all the monies. We need to make all the monies. I've got a cruise to pay off, and hopefully I sell enough that I can actually have a little extra to save up for a wrestling convention and stuff that's coming up here. But oh, BJ's got Skelegod out of the package, man. That's a big boy.
Yeah, he's bigger than I thought he was. I guess he's Skelegod, so
Yeah, makes sense.
very cool sculpt. Even if you don't like He-Man, I mean, this dude would fit in with like Mythic Legions or
Mm-hmm.
maybe Lord of the Rings.
Power Rangers for sure.
Oh yeah, he could totally beat up Lord Zed, if he wanted to. Very cool figure, man. See what he comes with real quick. Comes with some power thing there, some extra hands, and a sword.
Oh, it
Where's
does
the
come
other-
with the sword. Cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, and the extra hands are for holding the sword, so I'm not going to switch them out, but you get the idea. I like his creepy claw hands where he's going, I'll get you, He-Man. Yeah. See? There he is.
Very cool. It's got the little see-through neck and stuff like that on him. That's rad.
Oh, that's right.
Very cool.
Horns.
If you're looking for old Skelegod and you happen to have a Ross nearby, you may luck out and get him for a solid $6 bill. So
I think he was $8 at Walmart.
at one point,
I think he only really went on clearance because people really weren't like familiar with the character. They were like, "What is that?" It's not.
well, I think he was also pretty. Originally, I think he was like 30. So
Oh, was he? I thought these were like 25. I don't know.
Whoop, run away. I think most of the line was, but the Skelegod, being how big it was, I'm pretty sure it was like kind of the what do they call the Star Wars ones, the deluxe. Yeah. So he was like 30 originally, but hey, for $6. Saw another one today and was tempted just to keep one in package because I think it's just it's a cool figure that I think may in time kind of go up in value as people didn't pull the trigger on him. So, but you never know on things like that. But cool deal. Well, we are marching towards 300 subscribers, and hopefully we will get there by the end of the month. Then maybe we'll do something cool or different. Check out the tour of the Forgotten Toy Box, the local toy store here in Jacksonville, Florida. Next week we will be recording kind of what a setup and walkthrough of the toy show that we'll be at. So we'll kind of go through selling and how we set up. This will be kind of the first time, at least for me, really selling, especially at like an actual show. We've done a few sidewalk sales, stuff like that, but we'll show that, and then we'll kind of like maybe have an after cap of, hey, did we make any money, that kind of thing. show how we did and all that cool stuff. So that's kind of the future plans. I'm pretty sure BJ's got a Eternia video coming up, part 4, I would assume.
Yeah. One more to go. Maybe 2 more. This thing is so much stuff for this. I didn't want to.
Yeah, I think what he's saying is he didn't want to make one long video that was 2 hours, but also you want to be able to get in there and really show the detail. And he definitely does that in here where he goes through every single piece. So if you're you know looking to get into maybe buy one in the aftermarket and we're kind of playing the long game to see if it was worth picking up, definitely check out Uncle BJ's videos on Turnia here on the channel. But we're gonna go ahead and get out of here as Uncle BJ is frozen solid right now. But for myself and Uncle BJ, do us a favor, like, comment, subscribe, help us get to that 300 mark, and then after that, we'll figure out something cool to do to celebrate. But yep, so do us a favor, throw one back with us, and we will see you guys later. Peace out.